There's a moment when reality breaks, not all at once, but slowly, almost silently, until one day you realize that everything you trusted was never real to begin with. For nearly 4 decades, one man stood at the very center of the financial world, respected, admired, and seen as untouchable. His name was Bernie Madoff, a former chairman of NASDAQ and one of the most trusted figures on Wall Street. He wasn't operating in the shadows or hiding from scrutiny. He was the system itself, surrounded by credibility, influence, and power. Billionaires trusted him, banks trusted him, entire institutions handed over their money without hesitation, not because they were careless, but because everything about him signaled safety and legitimacy. People didn't just invest with him, they trusted him with their futures, their savings, and, in many cases, their entire lives. And that's what makes this story so unsettling, because behind all that trust, behind all that authority and reputation, there was nothing. No real strategy, no complex system, no hidden genius at work, just one of the largest and most devastating financial illusions ever created in modern history, built patiently over decades and sustained by one of the most powerful forces that exists: belief. At its peak, the operation was estimated to involve between $64 and $65 billion in reported assets, with real losses around $17 billion. Numbers so large they almost lose meaning when you first hear them. But behind those numbers were real people, real institutions, and decades of accumulated trust that would eventually collapse in a matter of days. When everything finally came crashing down in 2008, it didn't just expose a fraud. It shook the foundations of the global financial system and forced a difficult question into the spotlight. How could something like this exist for so long without being stopped? To understand how this was possible, you have to look beyond the money and into something far more fundamental: human behavior. Because this story is not just about finance, it's about trust, perception, and the natural tendency people have to accept something that appears to be working, especially when it is reinforced by authority, reputation, and social proof. When everything around you signals that something is safe, legitimate, and successful, questioning it doesn't feel logical. It feels unnecessary. And that's exactly how illusions survive. The idea behind it all was not new. In 1919, a man named Charles Ponzi introduced a scheme based on a simple principle. Instead of generating real profits, money from new investors was used to pay earlier ones, creating the illusion of a successful and profitable operation. As long as new money kept entering the system, everything appeared to work perfectly. Returns were paid, confidence grew, and more people joined. But eventually, like all systems built on illusion, it collapsed. What made this case different was not the structure of the scheme, but an environment in which it operated. Because this wasn't happening on the fringes of the financial world. It was happening at its core, surrounded by regulation, oversight, and some of the most experienced professionals in the industry. And yet it continued to grow. The reason was simple but powerful: certainty. The promise of consistent returns, around 1% per month, regardless of market conditions, created something far more valuable than profit. It created confidence. In a world defined by uncertainty, where markets rise and fall unpredictably, the idea of stable, consistent growth becomes incredibly attractive. And that's exactly what kept the system alive. Investors didn't just see returns, they saw reliability, they saw security, and over time, they stopped questioning how those results were being generated, because everything seemed to be working exactly as promised. But behind the scenes, there was nothing. No complex strategy, no sophisticated trading, no hidden system generating those returns. The money was deposited into a single account and simply redistributed. New investors paid the old ones. Statements were fabricated, reports were entirely fictional, and the entire operation was sustained by a carefully maintained illusion that depended entirely on continuous trust. The warning signs were there, visible but ignored. The auditing firm responsible for verifying the operation was small and virtually unknown. The returns were unusually consistent, almost too perfect. And over the years, multiple concerns were raised. The U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission received formal warnings about irregularities on several occasions, but no decisive action was taken. No serious investigation was carried out, and the system continued to operate as if nothing was wrong. And this is where the story becomes uncomfortable, because the system alone didn't fail, people did. Not because they lacked intelligence or experience, but because they trusted what they saw. They trusted the reputation, they trusted the results, and they trusted the system itself. When belief is reinforced by authority and shared by everyone around you, doubt becomes difficult, and questioning it feels unnecessary. Everything worked until it didn't. In December 2008, during the global financial crisis, investors began to panic. Markets collapsed. Uncertainty spread rapidly and suddenly. Everyone wanted their money back at the same time. And that's when the illusion finally broke. The problem was simple and devastating. The money didn't exist. Out of billions of dollars that were supposed to be there, only a fraction remained. And when the truth finally came out, the entire structure collapsed almost instantly, leaving more than 35,000 victims around the world, from individual families to major institutions, many of whom lost everything. What makes this story truly disturbing is not just the scale of the fraud, but how long it lasted. Nearly 40 years operating in plain sight. Not hidden, not invisible, but simply unquestioned. And that leads to a much deeper and more uncomfortable question. Because if something this massive could exist for so long, supported by trust, protected by reputation, and ignored by the very systems designed to prevent it, then the real question isn't how it happened, but what else might be happening right now that no one is questioning yet.